And this evening, we're going to start off with a proclamation on Women's History Month. Deputy Mayor Adams will be doing that. After that, we have a resolution appointing a firefighter to the position of captain. I'm sure that's why most of you are here. So we'll get that out of the way. We'll take a break so that you can all go have fun wherever you're going to be going. After that, we have our boards and committees. We have an appointment. We have appointments to both the Swimming Pool Advisory Committee and the Recreation Advisory Committee. Then we'll have our first public comment session. And after the comment session, we'll have a presentation from GASP, and this will be dealing with our discussion about prohibiting sales of cigarettes to anyone under 21 years of age. After that, we'll have a statement of the Finance Committee Chair on the budget. We'll be introducing the budget. We'll be introducing the Village Alliance budget, the Springfield Avenue Partnership budget, and also introducing a new ordinance to deal with budget appropriation limits and a cap bank. After that, we have 3 discussion items: personal feminine hygiene items free in public buildings. Number 2, landlord code heating ordinance update. Number 3, recreation department and pool fees for 2016. We have a consent agenda which has a number of items on it, ranging from emergency appropriations, canceling appropriations from previous years, appointing probationary firefighters, authorizing the purchase of body-worn cameras for a police department. A couple of ABC resolutions. Will be approving bills and claims, and then approving a new Township engineer, and also approving minutes of March 1st meeting. We'll have another public comment period after that. We'll have administrative reports, reports from elected officials, and then we will adjourn. Up next is proclamation, and we're going to ask Ms. Adams to go down to the mic.
Good evening. So, proclamation in honor of Women's History Month for 2016. Whereas for more than 2 centuries, our nation has grown under the simple creed that each of us is created equal. It is a notion that makes America unlike any other place on earth, a country where no matter where you come from or what you look like, you can go as far as your talents will take you. And whereas Women's History Month is a time to remember those who fought to make that freedom as real for our daughters as for our sons. Written out the promise of the franchise, they were women who reached up to close the gap between America and what it could be. They were driven by a faith that our union could extend true equality to every citizen willing to claim it. Year after year, visionary women met and marched and mobilized to prove what should have been self-evident. They grew a meeting in Seneca Falls into a movement that touched every community and took on our highest institutions. And after decades of slow, steady, extraordinary progress, women have written equal opportunity into the law again and again, giving generations of girls a future worthy of their potential. And whereas that legacy of the change is all around us, women are nearly half of our nation's workforce and more than half of our college graduates. But even now, too many women feel the weight of discrimination on their shoulders. They face a pay gap at work, or higher premiums for health insurance, or inadequate options for family leave. These issues still affect us all, and failing to address them holds our country back. And whereas our history shows that when we couple grit and integrity and ingenuity with our beliefs, there is no barrier we cannot overcome. We can stay true to our founding creed that in America, all things should be possible for all people. That spirit is what called our mothers and grandmothers to fight for a world where no wall or ceiling could keep their daughters from their dreams. Now, therefore, on behalf of Mayor Victor Luca, I do hereby proclaim March 2016 as Women's History Month in the Township of Maplewood.
And just to reinforce the need to keep reminding ourselves of the importance of women leaders fighting over the years for the right to vote and the right for economic equity. Ms. Larrier and I were at the State House in Trenton yesterday lobbying for the pay equity bill in the state. It passed the Senate previously. Yesterday there was the Assembly's turn and it passed. In the state of New Jersey, women still make 80% of what their male counterparts make. And for women of color, African-American women make near 50% of what their counterparts make, and Latinas make roughly 45%, somewhere around there. So there's a bit more we have to do. And thank you for doing that resolution and talking about the heroes or the sheroes over the years.
Exactly.
Yes. Next up, we have a resolution.
Mayor. Resolution number 68-16, a resolution appointing firefighter Keith W. Addy to captain of the Maplewood Fire Department. Whereas the position of captain in the fire department of Maplewood will become vacant on April 1st, 2016, and whereas the Township Committee of the Township of Maplewood has conducted interviews to fill the position of captain in the fire department, and whereas it has been determined that firefighter Keith W. Addy is qualified for the position, now therefore be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Maplewood, County of Essex, State of New Jersey, that firefighter Keith W. Addy be and is hereby appointed to the position of captain of the fire department in the Township of Maplewood, effective April 1st, 2016.
Really?
Mr. Chairman, I move the adoption of this resolution.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lambert?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. Congratulations.
I
Keith Addy,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will
I will
support the Constitution
support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey,
of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear
and I will bear
true faith
true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the governments
to the government
established
established
in this state
in the state
and the United States,
and the United States,
and under the authority
and under the authority
of the people,
of the people,
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the office of
of the office of
captain
captain
in the Maplewood Fire
in
Department,
the Maplewood Fire Department.
effective April 1, 2016,
2016,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, Captain.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
There's a human impact.
Yes, absolutely.
Kind of drives it.
See, and even what to do.
Oh, thank you.
Watch your steps there. Congratulations.
Congratulations. It really holds even on April 4th.
I'll keep this short. Maybe. It's only a full page. So. First of all, welcome everybody here to the Maplewood Township Town Hall. I'd like to thank Mayor DeLuca, Deputy Mayor Adams, Committeeman Brownlee, Committeewoman Larrier, Committeeman Lebrick, and the past Township Committee members for the opportunity to become a firefighter with the Maplewood Fire Department. I'd like to thank all my family, friends, and colleagues that came tonight to be a part of this special honor. And it truly is an honor to be promoted to the rank of captain. I have my immediate family here. I have my wonderful wife, Melissa, who has, by default, been promoted to the rank of chief. She was the captain, but that's the way it goes. And I have my son, Rich, my daughter, Caitlin, daughter, Jenna, and daughter, Autumn. And then I have my parents, Joanne and Wayne, my brother, Craig, my niece, April. I have my in-laws, yes, who are very important to me also, Marty and Jane. All right, thank you all for sharing this night with me. I'd like to thank my wife for being so wonderful throughout the years. Taking care of the household, running around the kids, taking care of all the stuff that involves with the kids while I'm at my shift for 24 hours. It takes a toll. All right, my kids who have been so patient and understand when I'm not able to make something or not be home for, holidays due to work. All right. Can't forget my parents and my in-laws. You guys are wonderful. You help out so much while I'm away on shift work with the kids, whether you're picking them up, whether you helping us out with that. It would be very difficult to manage that without you. Okay, all the firefighters, officers in the Maplewood Fire Department, all right, for your continued support and encouragement throughout the years in pursuing the rank of captain. So many of you have been a great help over the years in guiding me in the right direction to reach this goal. All right, just a little more than 15 years ago, I was given the greatest opportunity to become a career firefighter with the Maplewood Fire Department. Although some may not agree, this is truly the greatest job in the world. I consider myself very fortunate to have made a career out of something I've been so passionate about for years. I look forward to learning more from the firefighters and ranking officers I work with every day. I also look forward to working with working for the firefighters of the Maplewood Fire Department. Although difficult, I anticipate a smooth transition to captain due to working with a group of firefighters that are dedicated and passionate about their jobs. I truly believe that the officers are nothing without the hardworking firefighters who are the backbone of the fire department. Thank you to Chief Dingelstead for all your support over the years and encouragement for, while I went for this goal of captain. All right, hopefully someday I could be up here again. We'll take one step at a time. All right, but thank you everybody again for coming out. I appreciate the continued support from all the guys. All right, my brother firefighters, you're like another family. All right, I think sometimes I spend more time with you than I do my own family. So I do appreciate all of your support. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break so that you can get to where you want to go.
Congrats. Yeah, first you insult my age, and then you insult our faith. Nice. Way to get along. They should have included that in my That's
Mayor. Oh, you're welcome. Let's get started. We're going to get started. Okay, next up is the appointments to different boards and committees. I'm going to ask Mr. Lembrick to introduce the folks we're going to be appointing this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Swimming pool first?
Yes.
Okay. So first, I would like to invite the new appointees to the pool committee. That would be Erica Parker, Bill Olson, Ken Parsons, and Jeremy Urban to come up.
Can you turn the mic?
Oh. Mr. Mayor, these four individuals have expressed a desire to serve the community of Maplewood as members of the Maplewood Pool Advisory Committee, and I'd like to present them to the committee for our consideration for appointment this evening.
Great. Can we have each of you just come up, say who you are, why you want to be on the pool committee, and anything else that's interesting?
I'm Erica Parker. I've lived in Maplewood for, this will be the 14th year, and I've been a member of the pool almost every year. I think we probably joined our first, maybe second year. So I've had the opportunity to be a member and see it from the perspective of a married, childless couple, someone that never leaves those first few feet of the kiddie pool, to now, you know, I only see my kids when they need ice cream money. So I think what I've found is the pool is more than just a place where people go to cool off in the summer. It's really the biggest asset we have, I think, for building the culture of this town over the summer. And I have a background in corporate communications and employee engagement and things like that. So I think if I take some of those skills and things that I've done professionally, I can help do a different job of communicating the benefits the pool has to offer to the town, and maybe also help bubble up some of the ideas that I see floating around through social media and from, you know, just talking to people, and, you know, make it an even stronger asset to the community.
Terrific. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Urban. My wife and I just moved to Maplewood in August 2015. We moved from West Orange, so we had a lot of friends based in Maplewood, and we're really impressed in the community. Knew a lot of different people that really drew us to Maplewood. My wife's actually from Montclair. As I said, we lived in West Orange, so we're very familiar with Essex County, and really thought Maplewood would be where we wanted to raise our two daughters. Our daughters are in kindergarten and preschool aged, and so I've only been to the pool for 1 month, our first month last year, but they went multiple times a week. I went as often as I could join them. They loved it. So I'm volunteering, not from a perspective of having gone to the pool for 15 years, but from the perspective of I expect to go for the next 15 years, and think I can bring a kind of different perspective of new people coming to the town. How can we attract new people coming to the town? And definitely, as I said, the community is what attracted us to Maplewood, and I think the pool was one of the first very tangible aspects of the town that we heard about when we moved here and said, yep, we want to join immediately, and that's what everybody encouraged, all of our friends encouraged us to do. So I want to help create a community where that continues for the future.
Great. Thank you.
You can raise the mic a little so you don't have to do that.
Good evening. I'm Ken Parsons. Hello. My wife and I moved in 2001. We've been huge fans of the pool since then. We've been every summer. Really like it. And now have. Oops, hope that's not.
Oh, that's outside. I thought so.
The firefighters have their toys, and
Yeah.
they let us know.
I thought maybe there was
Yes.
a trick in this. I don't
So
know.
that's what
There is. Yeah. So our family loves the pool. We're there very frequently. My daughter's on the, this will be her third year coming on the Makos. We love it. And after sitting around and offering, my grand opinions to my wife about how I think improvements or changes could be made, she said, why don't you get off your backside and come and volunteer and participate? And to the extent that I can help make the pool maintain the treasure that it is and continue to be sustainable. I'd love to do it.
Great.
Thank you.
Bill Olson. Family's lived here for about 3 years now. Got 3 kids, 3, 6, and 9. So we're all over the pool all summer. It's been fantastic. Made a lot of friends through the pool, through the swim team. I just want to do what I can to help keep it going.
Okay, great. Thank you. Mr. Limbrick, would you like to move the appointment?
Yes, I would like to move the appointment of Jeremy Urban, Erica Parker, Ken Parsons, and Bill Olson to be members of the Maplewood Pool Advisory Committee.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you very much for your volunteering. Now, to prove that you really care, you have to stay till the very last item on the agenda. No, thank you for coming. If you want to go home, we completely understand.
Thank you.
And we have Ms. Tomlin, we're going to be appointing to the Rec Committee. Mr. Limbrick?
Yes, appointing Lara Tomlin to the Recreation Advisory Committee.
Hello.
So I present her to the committee for your consideration and appointment.
My husband and I have lived in Maplewood for about 11 years, and I'm in the park all the time. I play tennis, and I walk our dog, and I run around the streets of Maplewood, and I already volunteer picking up garbage at the basketball courts, which is great. So anyway, it seems like I can help even more. So Greg asked me, and I said, sure. And that's it.
Great. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay,
make that
I
motion.
would like to move the appointment of Mrs. Tomlin to the Recreation Advisory Committee.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you. Congratulations. And thank you for replanting the tulips, too. Okay, next up is we have a public comment. Is there anyone who would like to address the Township Committee? Just come on up and give us your name and your address and share your thoughts with us.
Mike Summersgill, 804 Prospect Street. I just wanted to thank the committee and the township for preparing for the transit strike. I know we didn't have to use the contingency plan, but it was a relief to myself to know that we were thinking about it. And also wanted to thank the New Jersey Transit as well as the union for coming to agreement. I appreciate when elected leaders compromise for the greater good and for progress. So I wanted to also acknowledge them for coming to a satisfactory agreement. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to address the Township Committee at this time? Okay, we'll close that. We have a presentation, and I'm going to ask Mrs. Larry if you would set this up.
Certainly. Mayor, about a month ago, we had an article written that described the need for raising the sale of tobacco to the age of 21. It's currently 18. And you brought it up for discussion, and ironically, at that same time, I had been to an ADAPT coalition meeting and had heard about other townships that had done that and was planning on raising the issue myself here. So we had a discussion and we thought we would like to hear more about it. And so we have Karen Blumenfeld from GASP, who will come and tell us about other municipalities that have raised the sale of tobacco to 21. Some of the benefits of doing that, the merits of making such a decision. And so without any further ado, Karen.
Good evening, everyone. And I always love coming to this hall. It's so magnificent. These murals are absolutely spectacular. And it was such a joyous occasion to see the captain sworn in and his family and his fellow firefighters support him. It was really beautiful. I'm here today, as was mentioned, to talk to you about an informational session, basically, so you could hear what's happening, trending on tobacco control in New Jersey, as well as across the country, and in particular about Tobacco 21. And also, communities are licensing stores that sell e-cigarettes because the state doesn't require a license for that. So it's very difficult to track who's selling them and then ensure that they're in compliance with state laws. So first, let's talk about Tobacco 21. Actually, let's first talk about your town. And I want to give you some good news. I remember being here in 2012 when your community was contemplating whether doing 100% smoke-free parks policy, and you did do that. And since then, 12 other communities in Essex County followed your lead, including the county, and the county parks are now smoke-free also. So I thank you very much for being a leader at that time. And I see very familiar faces here that supported that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So I just wanted to give you that little heads up. And Belleville is the first town in Essex County that did Tobacco 21 and also requires stores that sell e-cigarettes to have a license from the health department. And that was passed in December of this past year. So let's get right into Tobacco 21. There are 16 communities in New Jersey that have done this. And the reason why towns are doing Tobacco 21 is that the studies show that 90% of all people start smoking before they turn 21. So the state law requires that no one can be sold tobacco if they're under the age of 19. Governor Cody raised that from 18 to 19, if you'll recall. We were the first state to do that. And the only state that has 21 right now is Hawaii, and California is poised to do it. It passed, I don't know if you read about it in the news this past week, but it passed their Senate and House, and it's should hopefully be signed by the governor pretty soon. In New Jersey, just on the state level, bills have been introduced to raise the age to 21, and they actually passed overwhelmingly in the last legislative session, but unfortunately, the governor vetoed it on September 11th of 2014. But fortunately, in his veto, he did say that communities should be able to do these types of policies. Now, Office of Legislative Services, which is based in Trenton, actually issued an opinion that states that it's their opinion that communities would withstand any type of a legal challenge when it comes to preemption, which is good. So that means that towns, according to OLS and their opinion, and I have that opinion to share with you if you'd like it, allows for towns to do this. So we're very happy about that. So 16 towns have done this in the state. The federal government also issued a report last year, and they estimated that 250,000 lives would be saved if tobacco was raised to 21. And we feel this is very important. 250,000 lives is a sizable amount. Now you translate that down into each individual community, and we're of the opinion that every life really does matter. And because young people start using tobacco and now e-cigarettes, there's a tripled increase in the use of e-cigarettes amongst youth, as reported by the federal government, as well as hookah smoking has really increased as well. And hookah smoking is usually it's like a glass or metal apparatus where the tobacco is placed on top of it, and then it's burned, and it goes through a water system, and then the person breathes it in through a hose. So there are new products, not so new products, but that are gaining a lot of traction amongst the youth, and that we, as well as others in this field who are experts in this, truly believe that raising the age will help. And it is unfortunate that so many youth are using these e-cigarettes, but there's virtually no regulations with regard to marketing or advertising these products. We are fortunate that New Jersey is the first state back in 2010 to ban the use of e-cigarettes in just about all public places and workplaces where traditional smoking is banned. So you don't really see it much around here. But the problem is that sometimes it is used in places, and the advertising and marketing of these products, as well as the flavorings of the liquids that are used in these products, appeal very much to young people. And young people look up to celebrities, and celebrities endorse these products. So it is unfettered right now, and the industry is using their same marketing playbook that they used for tobacco before these types of marketing tactics were banned by the federal government. So we do feel very strongly about Tobacco 21. Another bill has been introduced, the same bill actually, but a different number, was introduced and has already passed the Senate Health Committee and the Senate and the Assembly Health Committee in Trenton. But we are concerned that it will meet the same fate as the prior piece of legislation did. I know that there's a big push to move it through quickly, and so the question would be, would it get vetoed again? It was vetoed before, so the likelihood is that that's quite possible. But in the meantime, we know that with regards to tobacco control, almost all tobacco control initiatives that are on the state level and even the federal level all started on the grassroots local level. So for instance, the federal government banned cigarette vending machines, except in adult-only locations, and yet your community did it so far long ago, almost I think it was, I have it here, 1994. And it was only until 2009 that the federal government did it. So we appreciate what the federal government does, but quite frankly, when it comes to tobacco control, it takes a very long time for them to go through their processes and protocols. And in the meantime, 2009, 2010 was when e-cigarettes really started to come on the market, and it's now been 7 years since the FDA did their initial tests on e-cigarettes showing that they contain all sorts of hazardous chemicals. And to date, we still have nothing on the federal level with regards to protection. So we do feel as though policies that help kids not have access to these products will reduce their initiation rates. And the CDC also agrees with that, the Center for Disease Control. Does anyone have any questions in the meantime? Okay, one of the papers that we publish, it lists the different jurisdictions that have done Tobacco 21. So the communities in New Jersey that have Tobacco 21, and they all include electronic smoking devices as well, are Belleville, Bergenfield, Bogota, East Rutherford, Englewood, Garfield, Hanover, Highland Park, Patterson, Princeton, Rutherford, Sayreville, Teaneck, and Tenafly. And then on a national level, California, 3 communities have done it there. Obviously, I've mentioned the state of Hawaii has done it, Evanston in Illinois, and several other communities. But in Massachusetts, there are probably about 70 communities that have done it. The local initiative really started there a number of years ago, and it has taken off. And they too have a bill that's pending in the State House as well. So we believe that without the locals taking initiative on this, a lot of these policies that would affect statewide really just kind of fall by the wayside. So we're very thankful for communities like yours that do think about these topics very seriously. Also, 21 is important because one cannot be sold alcohol until age 21. That's also an age of sale product, and it's also a drug as well. And we all know how addictive alcohol can be, as well as tobacco. It takes 7 attempts for someone to quit, 7 attempts. And children that grow up in households with parents who smoke are more likely to smoke. So it's very important to break this chain of smoking amongst families. The second topic that I want to address with you is the trend of communities that are requiring licenses from stores that sell electronic smoking devices.
Before we get to that, I just
sure.
wanted to ask you a couple questions. Approaching this at a local level, how do you deal with the argument you might get from some of the businesses in town that you're preventing us from selling it, but across the street might be another municipality where someone could go across the street and purchase cigarettes?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and we do sometimes hear that. I mean, there's a lot of different responses that the local leaders give. From our perspective, what we feel is that, look, you can only really govern what is within your, your territory. And so if a community and their leaders feel strongly about this, yes, it's possible that someone could cross the street. But what we've seen is this trend in Bergen County in particular, when you noted that I listed all those 16 communities, clusters of towns. So one town did, and the next one next to it did it, and the next one next to that one did it. And so you get these clusters. So you're almost getting, a much broader range to, eliminate the possibility that that could happen. But I mean, it is a fact that they could cross the street and buy it. But I think that leaders who want to support an initiative for the young people in their town and send a message that they really care and they're trying what they can. You can't control what happens in other communities, but you can help the kids in what happens in your community. And that's honest truth. That's what I share.
Our local newspaper put out an editorial that said that the state or neither the state nor municipality should raise the smoking age or the age that you can buy cigarettes. And I think we have to be careful here because this is not a limitation on the smoking age. This is the limitation on the buying of cigarette age.
It's actually a limitation on the sale. So the burden is on the seller, it's
Right.
not on the young person.
Right. So
Right.
the argument that the paper made was, if you're 18 years old, you get to vote, you get to join the military, you're presumed to be an adult. You go to college, you go away, you fend for yourself, you can enter into contracts and things like that. Why would, of course, they discount the fact that we've already, have a 19-year-old. So, but you can almost live with that. Why would you deprive somebody who has all these other rights, the right to buy cigarettes for 2 more years?
Well, I think the argument, which is the equivalent of an age of sale product like alcohol, which, the age to alcohol was raised to 21. And most likely, the surveys show that people would not want to roll back the age to 18 because of the repercussions of that 3-year incremental difference, and that it does save lives. And we know that with alcohol, unfortunately, we see the detrimental effects of that with, the accidents that are caused immediately. With smoking, it takes a longer period of time to see the negative health impact on the person as well as the people that are around them. But at the end of the day, the impact is there. And so, yes, people can vote at this age at 18. And you're right, exactly. That's what I would say. Well, we raised it to 19 and no one seems to be really upset about that. And in addition, retailers actually have to prove people to ensure that they're not under the age of 25. 26, right? I think they use under 27, which is 26. So retailers are already proofing for tobacco products already for that age. So, there's no additional burden in that sense on the retailer because they already have the proof.
Anyone else have any questions about that aspect before we get into electronics?
Just one other quick comment too about the military. I always like to bring up that the military is really trying to move towards a tobacco-free environment. Decades and decades ago, the military provided free cigarettes to soldiers when they were in combat, and that led to a very high incidence rate of soldiers smoking, people in the military smoking. So the military now has quit smoking cessation programs for every single branch of the military. They're moving towards tobacco-free environments where the people work, and selling tobacco also on military bases. So they're actually trying to make their personnel as healthy as possible when it comes to being tobacco-free. Okay.
Yeah, I do have one comment.
Yes.
When I had this discussion with someone at a coalition meeting, one of the things that they brought up in answer to your question, they can
Just say what coalition, because we have a lot of
Oh, I'm
coalitions.
sorry, the ADAPT coalition.
And what is the ADAPT coalition?
Alcohol, drug.
It's an anti-drug. Okay.
Yes,
that's
thank
good.
you.
An anti-drug.
Yes, and I say ADAPT and I always forget the acronym. And one thing that Mr. Torres said to me is that 19-year-olds are more likely to have 17 and 16-year-old friends than a 21-year-old. And so just by virtue of the circle, there may be access that goes away if a 19-year-old can't necessarily purchase tobacco. What would be your comment to that? Yes, no? Reaching?
I don't think he's necessarily reaching, but I don't have the stats for that, so I don't like to say that I agree with someone unless I see like the reports. I'm kind of a stickler when it comes to that. But I mean, I do know that when Governor Christie raised the age from 18 to 19, that was to prevent seniors in high school from having tobacco access and then perhaps selling it or providing it to people that were under that age. So, I could understand from his perspective why he did that, and it might very well be the same logic with regards to what you're explaining. I mean, it does make sense, from that standpoint. It definitely does make sense.
I would submit, though, that, and I know this from personal experience, if a person is delayed in school, so long as they start their senior year, by the time they are 19, they can remain. So it being 19, they're few, they're not as many as there are 18-year-olds, but there are 19-year-olds still in high school.
Yeah, it's a little different when I went to grade school. I remember the cutoff was December 31, and that was it. So I was born later in the year, so I was one of the younger kids in the class, but I think it's all different now. I think it's changed, so it's quite possible, yes, that 19-year-olds would be still in high school. Mm-hmm.
And less likely that a 21-year-old would be there. Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments. All right, so I'm just going to move on to the electronic smoking device license. So in New Jersey, 10 communities have adopted ordinances that require a license if the retailer sells electronic smoking devices. And those are Belleville, Cranford, Garwood, Hillside, Mountainside, Paramus, Summit, Westfield, Wayne, and Westwood. And there are a bunch of communities that are in the process right now of doing that as well. The reason is that first off, I mentioned the concern with electronic smoking devices and the amount of young people that are now using these products, and that there is no regulation with regards to them, with the exception that New Jersey bans the use in all public places and workplaces. New Jersey bans the sale to anyone under the age of 19, and New Jersey now will ban the e-liquids in containers unless they are child-proofed, and that goes into effect August 1. So that's a new policy that the governor signed in January. The state statute for tobacco and cigarettes does not cover electronic smoking devices, so there's no special tax on them other than the regular tax. And therefore, there's also no discussion with regards to preemption at all. If there's no law on it, then it would seem to be that communities could pass their own policies when it comes to electronic smoking devices. And that's why these towns have done it, and none have been challenged. And by the way, none of the towns that have done Tobacco 21 have been challenged either. The towns are also interested in these policies because they want to be able to track the stores that are selling these products so they can determine whether or not they're in compliance with those state laws that I noted. Since the state does not require a license to sell these products, there's no one at the state treasury to contact and say, hey, which are the stores in my community that sell electronic smoking devices, so then our town can go and make sure that they're not selling to young people, they're not using the product inside, because there's no waiver for smoking e-cigarettes inside any establishment at all. Unlike there are smoking waivers that are very limited with regards to conventional cigar smoking, there is no smoking waiver under our state law for e-cigarette use. So communities want to be able to track. And in the work that I've done, I've found out that there are many locations that do not sell traditional tobacco, but do sell electronic smoking devices. So one can get the list of cigarette retailers from Treasury, which is a great start. But there are other locations selling these products, and the only way to figure that out is if a community takes charge of it and has some sort of a tracking mechanism. So the license allows for that. And the license is important for these communities because they're very interested in ensuring that the products are not being sold to people underage. And also, as I mentioned, the attraction through the marketing and advertising of these products is completely unfettered. All the communities that have these licenses require that these products be behind the counter. And that is not something new with regards to tobacco control in New Jersey on the local level. There are many communities that already require self-service displays be banned of tobacco products. So extending it to electronic smoking devices is not far-reaching, and the Centers for Disease Control and other health experts agree that that's really important. So the communities are looking to do this and have done it. And another positive is that there is a licensing fee, and so the licensing fee goes to help defer the cost for the tobacco age of sale program with the compliance checks that communities do, and some of them don't do it anymore because the state doesn't give communities money anymore to do that. It also allows to do the educational outreach to retailers about new laws. So for example, it takes time, effort, which translates into money, to make the stores aware that come August 1st, they need to ensure that all e-liquids are sold in child-proof containers. So the license allows for that. The licensing fees allow for that. And the communities that actually have done this, the licensing fees range from $250 a store to $1,200. And not one store has complained about it. So it doesn't seem to be a monetary issue, and the communities use the financial licensing fees to help pay and defer costs for health department initiatives and education. Now, one community, they had about 20 stores that were selling e-cigarettes. They passed the policy. I believe it was around 12 did the license, and the other 8 said, you know what, we hardly sell any. It's really just not worth it for us. And so that meant 8 stores no longer sold e-cigarettes in the town. I mean, that's sort of the end goal. The end goal is to ensure that these products are not on the market for kids to get. And also for adults too. I mean, adults are being told that these products are safe. Adults are being told that they help them quit smoking. And all the studies that come out so far, you know, from the peer-reviewed journals and scientists show that it doesn't help people quit smoking. They end up being dual users. They smoke and they use these products, and that they're not safe. And they contain a host of chemicals and carcinogens. So it's very disconcerting that these products are on the market. So in a community like I just described, where the licensing fee actually helps deter stores from continuing to sell them, we thought that that was actually an added bonus that we weren't expecting. So I've also provided you with some sample ordinances that the communities that have done this, so you can just take a peek at that. And of course, if you have any questions from me, you know, for the ones tonight, or like in the future, or through your health officer row, I'm more than happy to entertain, you know, any kind of questions that you have, or, you know, issues with regards to it if you get feedback.
Okay, any questions?
I have a question. It may be that the data, you know, because the products are relatively newer, the data just isn't there yet, but could you speak to the extent to which there is data comparing the health effects of e-cigarettes to traditional cigarettes? You know, is there a difference in terms of the health impact?
There is some difference, and some are the same. Actually, on our website, in the news alert section, so our website's njgasp.org, and in the news alert section, we have a subsection on e-cigarettes, and we try to archive all the studies that have been done with regards to the health concerns. And so there are so many that, I mean, it's countless. But the point is that there are some similarities with regards to health, and then there are differences with regards to the negative health impact. So for example, there's a chemical that's found in most e-liquids called diacetyl. I don't know if any of you have heard of that. I didn't know about it until I saw this study. And the thing that was so alarming about this is that, well, first of all, it's a flavoring that's used in e-cigarettes, and it creates like a buttery type of a flavor, like a kind of like that, sort of like a buttery feel on the palate. And what happened was that in the Midwest, there's a factory that made packaged popcorn, packaged buttered popcorn. And so many of these workers came down with this really bad pulmonary disease, which basically can only get cured if you get a lung transplant. And it was because the diacetyl was coating the popcorn and it was in the air. Now, the FDA says it's okay to consume a certain amount of it, unbuttered popcorn. But when it's inhaled, it takes on a completely different property within your body. And so it's very, very disconcerting that so many of these e-liquids, one of their main components is diacetyl. So here you have this like example of a study of people that were only in this one factory, all breathing in the same chemical. And so many had this terrible disease they came down with, and yet this product is in so many e-liquids. So, diacetyl, I don't believe is in regular cigarettes, or if it is, it's in a very low amount. But I haven't seen any studies or research that says it is. But that's like an example of a chemical that, whoever heard of this thing until, now. So it is disconcerting. I can give you a personal anecdote. I testified at the New York City Council's hearing a few years ago when they were debating whether to ban e-cigarettes inside public places and workplaces. And when I was testifying, they had like a big, beautiful room like this with a very high ceiling. And there were dozens of people that were vaping during the hearing on the bill. It was the health committee, actually, the health committee hearing. And so the odor in the room was sort of strange because there are all these different flavors. So if you imagine just putting all these different flavors in like a batch of something and you like eat it and it's like, this just tastes weird. Well, that's kind of what the air smelled like. But I noticed that about an hour or so into this, and I was there for numerous hours, that I started developing a headache and I started feeling sort of nauseous, not terribly so, but my colleague who was with me felt really sick. And, I said to her, please just, leave the room, leave the building, go do something, and I'll be in touch with you after it's gone. And other people were getting sick. So from my personal experience of being exposed to, a couple dozen people in a big room with a high ceiling, that negative impact was there. And there are studies that show negative impact of, electronic smoking device use. So we're really fortunate, I think, that we were the first state to do it.
Another question I have, and the information may be on your website, and if so, please point me to that or anywhere else you think the data might be. But I'm curious about, obviously, there's data about the overall cost in terms of healthcare cost in this country of tobacco-related illnesses. Is there any estimate about the impact that Tobacco 21 of raising the age, what that might do in terms of healthcare cost savings in the future? Is there any sort of projection?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm not sure if I've seen that. I could try to see if I could find it. But if you figure that 250,000 lives would be saved, what the benefit would be to that from not having that burden on our healthcare system. I know that New Jersey spends approximately $3 billion a year in healthcare costs related to smoking. So, that's a really good question, but I'm sure that there would be definitely a positive impact in the quality of life of the people if they didn't start, and that there should be an impact, a financial impact as well.
Right, because I think that would be an interesting bottom line to, obviously 250,000 lives is, that's an impressive bottom line in itself. But to see, if we could also convert that to, to a dollar figure in terms of healthcare costs, because, so many of us are concerned about the rising cost of healthcare and health insurance. So, a healthier New Jersey would be also a less expensive New Jersey in terms of healthcare. Right. So if there are statistics like that, I think I for one would be very interested in seeing.
Sure. I will be happy to consult with my colleagues that, may have that information. And then if there's anything, I'll let you know either way. I'll let you know if I find something.
Thank you.
Yay or nay.
Adams.
Yes, I just have, well, first of all, I'm on your website and several places like for e-cigarettes, it's password protected.
Yeah, no, this is if you go to News Alert. Did you go to News Alert?
Right, there are other things that do link to other things, but I just want.
Oh, because we're redoing parts of it. So,
okay,
yeah,
no worries.
But if you need something on there, I'm more than happy to give it to you because it takes a while for the webmaster person to.
Right. Well, mostly my question though is with regard to towns that have passed such resolution or ordinance, depending on which, have there been lawsuits against those municipalities?
None,
yet?
none for 21 and none for the e-cigarette license that we're, oh, and I say that we're aware of, but I think that the communities, because we've, worked closely with them and educating them, that they would probably contact me or I would be seeing it in the newspaper. So I haven't heard anything with regards to that.
Who would be your opposition? I mean, if you lay this out, is there a group in the state that would oppose what you're proposing?
On 21, it's
Yeah.
usually like the retailers, convenience stores, et cetera. I mean, it makes sense that they wouldn't want to have another restriction placed upon them from their perspective. But from our perspective, there's no undue burden placed upon them because, like I mentioned earlier, they have to proof anyway for under 27, and if it's going to save lives, they should be interested in that. The license to sell tobacco, it's a privilege, it's not a right, and with that right comes responsibility. So if it's going to end up saving so many lives, then I think that they would be interested in that, just as like from a fellow human being's perspective.
Yeah, but I think their perspective is more that they can't sell them to people, whether they have to card somebody under 27 isn't, I don't think that's their issue. I think their issue is reduction in.
It could be, but I think that, I'm sure that was their issue when the 18 law took effect and when the 19 law kind of took effect, and that there's a time to adapt, but in the long run, from a public health standpoint, I think that really trumps whatever the margins are very, very small on cigarettes, very, very small. And in fact, there was a news clip yesterday, it was the 14th, right? A news clip that Costco is quietly moving to not sell tobacco anymore. And I know that the one in East Hanover, it's East Hanover, right? It's not Livingston, I think it's East Hanover. And another one I contacted a year ago, they don't sell tobacco anymore. And so this news story said that the margins are too small on it, that the space could be better used to sell something where they have better margins, and they just felt as though this was what they wanted to do. And CVS, as you know, they stopped selling tobacco over a year ago. Completely.
Yeah, and just, this is less of a question than just a note that, some of the retailers I've spoken to two in town that sell cigarettes, and what they mentioned is not so much the margin on the cigarettes, which I think, that is what it is, and they probably acknowledge that's small, but that a lot of the customers that come in to buy cigarettes buy other things while they're there, and they sort of, their concern is if some of those customers can't come in to buy the cigarettes, are they going to buy their, whether candy, chips, Gatorade, water, whatever it is that they come in and buy in addition to the cigarettes, are they going to take that business somewhere else, particularly if it's, if the age is raised in Maplewood but isn't raised in any number of other communities? Are people just going to go to the 7-Eleven in South Orange as opposed to the 7-Eleven in Maplewood to buy those things?
Yeah, well, I mean, anything is possible, but here's the deal. I've gone to every single hearing on Tobacco 21 in the state of New Jersey, from every single legislative session on this, and to date, I have never heard the Food Council or the convenience store group or any of the retailers bring any facts that show that in these communities in New Jersey or elsewhere in Massachusetts, where they've been doing this for a long time, since 2005, that there have been these types of declines in sales. So it would be helpful to see some concrete information with regards to the sales that are actually lost as opposed to, the hypotheticals.
No, I understand.
Yeah,
If
I mean, that's a response I give to them.
Yeah, no, and if we're asking you for data as we are, it's also fair to ask those who are against it to show their data as well. So I take your point.
Yeah, and in fact, with CVS, they actually said that, and I think it's like in all of their, their financials that they've issued in press statements that, initially there was like a slight drop like in sales for them, but then it like bounced like right back and they're like perfectly fine. And so, that's like an example of a store that, adapted to not selling them at all. So, I mean, not selling them at all, and they're, back to square one or even better, is like a really good indication that people may not be not going to those stores because maybe they do smoke, but, either they're still going there or other people are going and maybe they're going more. I have colleagues that, if they have, everyone has a choice. You can go to Walmart, you can go to CVS, and many of the colleagues that I have in public health, they, specifically choose to go shop at CVS because of what CVS did and the statement that they made and the leadership position about how can we be a pharmacy and try to help people and then sell them the only product on the market when used as intended kills you. So, there's a lot of benefits to having these types of policies that one might not necessarily think about at the beginning, but that come out during the course of the implementation.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
I have one.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's on the website. How many municipalities in New Jersey have passed Tobacco 21?
16.
And I'm not sure if it's on the website, but do you have the dates? If it's available on the website, I can go look there. The dates. I'm not asking you to recite them to me tonight.
Oh, sure.
I think you have it, actually. It was emailed to you, yeah.
The dates?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, you know what? I didn't look at that. I'm sorry. Thank you.
That's okay. Most of it has happened in the last year or two. It was Englewood that started in, I got to remember, I think it was summer of 2014. Englewood
Yeah,
was the
we have the
first.
list, so we can.
Oh, you're good? Okay.
Thank you. My apologies.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you. We are, we're going to do this very deliberately, and we want to hear from you and certainly our own health officer. We're going to reach out to retail businesses, see if they want to present. And then when we feel that we have enough information and that we're informed sufficiently, we will take up the decision as to whether or not we want to proceed.
That sounds like a smart idea.
Okay?
And I'll see if I can find that data.
Thank you, I appreciate
Okay?
that.
Great.
Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you very
time.
much
I
for
really
coming out
appreciate
again.
it. Yeah,
Okay.
it's great to see everybody.
All
Thank
right,
you.
see you.
Thank you so much. Thank
I
you
don't-
for inviting us.
I'd also like to thank you for sending the information that you did send, and I will remind my colleagues that it has been emailed to you, so you do have it. If you don't have it, I can send it to you. Also, I think you received Saturday the ADAPT brochure, which, by the way, is Alcohol and Drug Abuse Prevention Team. There you go. There you go. And in fact, Mr. Lemberg, it actually does have what's in an e-cigarette and what it can do to you. So if anyone wants to see this, I also have that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. We're now going to move on to item number 10, which is statement by the Finance Committee Chair, which is myself. And this is a custom we do on the night that we introduce the budget. So here are my remarks. Work on the 2016 budget began late last year when department directors submitted their budget requests to the Township Administrator. Countless hours were spent by the administrative team of Mr. Manning, Mr. Carrera, and Mr. Uribe in putting together a spending plan. The Township Committee met for over a dozen hours reviewing proposed income and expenses. We did that in January, February, and in March. I'm happy to report that all this work is paid off, as tonight we are introducing a 2016 budget with a tax rate increase of 1.96%, under the statutory 2% limit. For the average home assessed at $397,000, this amounts to an $82 increase for the year, or about 22 cents more each day. Overall spending is increasing 2.9% to $41.5 million. Cost drivers include a 2% salary increase for our employees, a 14% increase in group health insurance premiums, and an 8% increase in bond principal payment. We are maintaining, in this budget, we are maintaining 2 police officers that we added in 2015, and we are hiring 2 new firefighters to fill out our table of organization. We entered this year with an $8.6 million reduction in net valuation of taxable properties, primarily driven by a $15 million reduction in the value of Winchester Gardens. Luckily, new ratables helped cushion that loss. In the 2016 budget, we are using about $300,000 of the $1 million in net proceeds from the sale of the former post office. The balance of the sale proceeds will remain in the reserve fund and used to keep taxes lower in future years. On the capital side, although we're not introducing the capital budget tonight, I want to present the total picture. On the capital side, we are continuing our long-standing practice of only incurring 80% of the debt we are retiring. Even with that, in this year's capital budget, we've included purchase of a fire truck, a jitney bus, and a much-needed front loader for our DPW. We'll be making improvements to the Woodland, installing new windows at the Hilton branch of the library, purchasing body-worn video cameras for police officers, very important in this day of community police relations, and making road and sewer improvements around town. We've also included $15,000 for architectural services for conceptual design of an expanded main library building. With our open space trust fund, we'll improve our parks and playing fields, the front of the Hilton branch of the library, and the Seth Boyden Outdoor Center. Open space funds are also being used to purchase the former church next to DeHart Park, which will be used for recreational use. I want to thank all involved in the preparation and review of the 2016 budget and urge my Township Committee colleagues this evening to support its introduction. Ms. Fritzen, item number 11, we have a resolution.
Mayor, Resolution 71-16, to read the budget by title.
I'll move it.
Second.
We need a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Just explain why we do this.
Well, why we do this is so that the township clerk doesn't have to read every page of the budget.
Of the budget. It's an efficiency move here.
Correct.
Yes. As much as we'd like to hear you spend the next hour or two reading, I think it's better we just read it by title.
Correct.
Okay. So please call the roll. It's been moved and seconded.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Ms. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. And then we have another another resolution, introduction of the municipal budget.
That's correct, Mayor. That too is resolution number 75-16.
And I would move the resolution introducing the 2016 municipal budget.
I'll second that.
Mayor, I just want to read part of that if I can into the record.
Certainly.
Municipal budget of the Township of Maplewood, County of Essex for the fiscal year 2016. Be it resolved that the following statements of revenues and appropriations so constitute the municipal budget for the year 2016. Be it further resolved that said budget will be published in the news record in the issue of April 5th, 2016, and the governing body of the Township of Maplewood does hereby approve the budget for the introduction. Notice is given that a hearing of the budget and tax resolution will be held at the municipal building on April 19th, 2016 at 7:30 p.m., at which time and place said budget and tax resolution for the year 2016 may be presented by taxpayers or other interested persons.
Okay, we still moved it and we still second it.
I'm going to take a roll call vote.
So this is the introduction of the budget, and we will have our hearing on the budget on April 19th at 7:30 p.m. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you. It is incumbent upon the Township Committee to also approve the budgets of our two special improvement districts. Item number 13 is the Maplewood Village Alliance Special Improvement District.
Mayor, I have copies of both budgets right up here on the table if anybody from the public is interested in securing a copy.
And can we get a motion on the proposed budget for the Maplewood Village Alliance Special Improvement District?
So moved. Second.
I have a question.
Yes.
I know that when they presented their budget, there was initially a request for $50,000 for construction, post office construction-related sort of offset or mitigation. And there was discussion at our last budget hearing of allocating $25,000 for that. And the 2016 proposed budget that I'm looking at that was distributed today doesn't appear to have either the 25 or the 50. I just wanted to ask whether that was somewhere else or where that was changed.
It was a separate request, and it's a separate budget than their annual improvement district budget. So it's a separate budget that we will approve, or that we will allocate the money for.
Okay.
And is not part of this.
Okay,
So this is for the improvement district budget.
okay, so that was separate and apart from what we're approving
Yes,
tonight.
yes. And you're
Okay.
right, it is 25,000, and I have spoken to them, and they feel that they can do a lot with the 25,000, so. And we will actually vote at some point to make that contract with them for the 25,000.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see that in here, so I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
And can I also mention that I think we were going to try and have the developer try to offset the 25 that we were
No,
going
it
to
can
ask
be
him.
on top of.
I'm sorry, yes, on the 25 that they're not getting, we were going to try and have him make some of that up.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, call the roll on the introduction of the Village Alliance budget for 2016.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mr. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lambert?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, and then we have next is the Springfield Avenue Special Improvement District budget.
I'll move it, Mayor.
Something else, okay. Second.
Over there, Mayor.
And this budget is also, in both instances, these budgets will have a hearing on May 3rd. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we have a motion on the Springfield Avenue budget. It's been moved and seconded. Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lambert?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. Could you explain to us, Ms. Fritzen, the process now that you will use as far as notifying property owners in both of these districts?
Yes, Mayor. What will happen now that you've approved the budget numbers, every SID property owner will receive a communication of what took place this evening, a copy of the budget, and notice of the hearing date of May 3rd, 2016, if they're interested in coming and making any comments. They can also have the opportunity to email or send comments if they are not available to come. Some of the property owners live out of state, so they are contacted.
Great, thank you. Next up, we have an introduction of an ordinance.
So Mayor, introduction of a new ordinance, ordinance 2807-16. Exceed municipal budget appropriation limits and establish a cap bank pursuant to NJSA 48-4-45.14.
I move the passage of this ordinance on its first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on April 5th, 2016.
Second, Mr. Manning, could you explain why we need to introduce an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limit and establish a cap bank?
First of all, we do not exceed at all, but what we do is what's called a cap bank. So we're at 2%, but the state does allow us to go above that 2% for things like increases to health benefits, insurances. There are several things laid out in the law, which if we wanted to, could equal, I don't know how much it would equal this year. Do we know?
It'll be $477,000.
So we have the ability to raise $477,000 of additional taxes and still stay within the 2% cap. So we bank that in case something should ever come up in the future and we're caught short.
So even though we don't use it, it
Never
allows
use it.
us, in case we have a catastrophic situation, we would be able to go back into that bank and raise taxes more than the 2%.
Right. So the way that it works, I think we have 2 years. We would be able to, this year we'd be able to use 2014's, whatever we had there. Next year it'd be 2015. So we're always 2 years. And then if you don't use it after 2 years, it disappears.
So stated a different way, this gives us the authority to do it. This is not saying we are going to do it.
We have no plans to do it.
Yeah.
And we've never used it, right?
Right.
No, not to my memory.
But this has to be done.
Just in case.
Just in case, yes.
This has to be done by ordinance
Right.
in order to reserve that.
That's correct.
That bank.
Right.
It's been moved and seconded. Anybody have any questions? Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lambrecht?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you. Next up, we have 3 discussion items. Mrs. Larrier?
Yes, Mayor. New York Times wrote an article regarding the need or the use of feminine hygiene materials in public buildings, making it available because it's a need that women have, and they have this not because they want to, but that's because that's the way women are made. And to put it a different way, it's basically just sort of like other hygiene items that are free. We don't pay for toilet paper in our public restrooms, so nor would we ever think that we should need to. In fact, we're generally pretty upset when it's not available readily, as we should be. And I believe, after reading this article and after thinking about it, that this is something that Maplewood should make available also in their public restrooms. The article that I read and some of the literature that I have read about this also suggests even the public school restrooms. However, obviously, we don't get to mandate what happens in our public schools. The Board of Education does that. But in it, so far as it's within our power, I would like to see feminine hygiene materials be made available free of charge in all of our public buildings.
Comments?
Yes, I agree 100%. I'm very, very supportive of that.
Do we know of the technology that's used to do this? Because I know they talked about it in the schools in New York City and in other states. Do we know how the products will be provided?
I do not know all of the technology. I do know that when I have been in restrooms where it is free of charge, it has been your standard, put a quarter in the machine and turn it. Well, it turns without a quarter.
Okay, so it's the same as those
mechanism.
vending machine type things where you had to put money in before, just that there'd be no transaction of money. Okay.
For the money.
Anyone else? I'm very supportive of it. I agree with you.
I'm very supportive of it. Now, if we could just get the tax removed when buying it in a grocery store or a drugstore, that would be helpful.
That would be
And
wonderful.
would be even nicer if someone, maybe on a federal level, would look into the price fixing that has to occur with regard to how expensive these products are for purchase. And when you think of what they're made of, and the cost is ridiculous. And it's been a pet peeve of mine for a long time. So, and I feel bad for anybody who's got lots of daughters, because that's to all the
Large
costs in
expense.
every household around. So, very supportive of it.
I will also point out that our public health nurse, one of our public health nurses, has actually taken this proposal to the Board of Education. I'm not exactly sure what the status of that request is, but it has been brought to them.
Alan, do you want to weigh in, or?
I'm supportive as well. Do we need a resolution, or?
I think what we ought to do is get a motion, Mrs. Larry, to make the motion to pursue this, to do this, and then instruct Mr. Manning to work with Mr. Rowe and whoever else to report back to us on how it can be implemented.
Okay, well, Mr. Mayor, I would make a motion that we do pursue this and that we instruct Mr. Manning to do just that.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lambrecht?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. Thank you. Next up is the landlord code heating ordinance. You have that also?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Code Enforcement Committee met last weekend. It came to our attention, or we thought that there was no clear and specific mandate for the level of heat or timing of heat in buildings that are owned, apartment buildings. Since then, Mr. Mittermeier, our building director, has discovered that indeed the Maplewood heat regulations suggest or mandate that under the maintenance code, we cannot have heat lower than 68 degrees ever. Our health code, however, says between 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. During the day, it should be 70 degrees, and between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m., it should be 60 degrees. Mr. Rowe and Mr. Mittermeier had a conversation, and they felt that if you happen to be up or around in the middle of the night due to your working, maybe 60 degrees is a little low. And it just seems to me that both of them both the building code and the health code should agree. And Mr. Mittermeier, Mr. Rowe seem to be in agreement on that. And what they agreed to was that we should default to the building code, which says no lower than 68 degrees.
That morning, is that day and night?
That's day and night.
I'd never be able to sleep.
Other than that, any other comments? Do we have other municipalities, what they do?
I don't
Because
believe he's brought that to us yet.
Okay, I would like to see what some other municipalities do. Listen, I love having a warm house, so I'm not a problem with 68 degrees. I just don't know if on a sustainability, I'd like to take a look at the sustainability thing, because even most thermostats that you buy now are programmed to go down to 62 in the evening. You buy it off the shelf, 68 during the day and 62, and that, I believe, are sort of the model temperatures around energy efficiency, sustainability. So I don't want to lose this, but I would like to get a little more information before making it 68, 24 hours a day.
Well, I can ask him to just bring to us what other municipalities do.
And maybe
we can
one of the
have
things.
that. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And then I would imagine we would look at that at next month's code committee, or do you want to bring it back here?
Why don't we look at the code committee and see, talk around. Mr. Manning, on the sustainable Jersey stuff, is there anything that remotely touches something like this?
I'm not sure. I don't remember it, to be honest with you, but we will check with our association to see what other municipalities are doing as far as that's concerned. So
yeah, I just think on the sustainable, from a sustainable point of view, it might be counterproductive to what we're talking about. But I certainly think 60 is too low, by the way.
60 is low.
Yeah, I think 60 is low. Because I think you're right. And I think you're right that this is a sort of modeled on a typical get up in the morning, go to work, come home in the afternoon, and there are many different scenarios now. So,
and that's also the what you're talking about, the programmable thermostats rely on that as well, as if no one's home all day, so no need to.
Right. And now that I'm retired and home all day.
Yeah, you're not sustainable
I'm
anymore.
not sustainable because I'm hitting that thermostat all the time. Yeah. So
I guess, yeah, I'm sorry.
I would like to suggest that regardless of what we do, we make sure that building and health match up.
I think that's right. Mr. Brownlee?
No.
Okay, so how about if we kick this back to code to bring it back to us with a couple of other models and maybe just try to figure out that sustainability piece.
Sure.
On the energy efficiency.
And then I can count on Mr. Manning to let me know what that is.
Yes,
Okay.
we'll do that.
Okay, and Mr. Manning, you're up next with the Recreation Department pool fees.
Now, I'm speaking specifically on fee recommendations for 2016 for the Maplewood Municipal Pool. Did you all receive a copy? Okay. And you can see that there are some modest increases being asked for. Well, let me preface this by saying we have run a deficit in the pool for the last 3 years. I think it adds up now, it's about $141,000 that we have subsidized the pool. So we need to at least try to make the pool better at generating revenue. And I asked Melissa to come back and Mancuso to with some suggestions. And this, she said, was discussed with the Pool Advisory Committee.
Yes.
And these are their recommendations.
Yes, and I was at the meeting, and I'd be happy to address any questions people have about the changes that were recommended. But yeah, all of this was discussed and voted on by the pool committee.
So if you see it, I mean, they're talking about $25.
Yeah, I think we see it.
Yeah.
The other thing here is that we're all on board with the eligibility of township employees.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now, that's from that point. Now, there's the things in bold, the recreation fee and the field court. We're also talking about those too. That's not the pool committee.
Well, was this was discussed at the pool, or was this discussed at the recreation?
No, the top was talked about at the pool. The bottom.
Top was talked about at the pool, and some of the lower fees were talked about. And I was at both meetings, so I don't recall whether it was in Recreation, Human Services
Right. We're just
Subcommittee or the Recreation Advisory.
Yeah, no, it was at the
Pool
Okay.
only.
Okay, so just clarity. So you're just asking for, in
Yes.
this memo, for the pool changes?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Lembrecht, would you like to?
I'm sorry, because I see I made a note here. No, it is also the field issues too.
Okay.
So it goes all the way to the bottom of the page.
Okay, the question is, has the rec committee made a recommendation on the bottom part of this?
Who is on, I
Mr.
don't
Lambert.
know.
That is me, and I was just discussing with Ms. Adams. I do not recall, as I sit here, whether that was discussed within the Recreation Human Services Subcommittee or the Recreation Advisory Committee. I know that it was discussed within one.
Then what I think we should do is just concentrate on the pool rate
Yes.
today, because it's almost time for memberships to go out, and
Yes.
the sooner this happens. And since it's typically an ordinance that does this, we won't be able to have time in order to get things printed, et cetera. If we could do it by a resolution, even a motion with a memorialization, we could do it, and when we get the additional fees straightened out with fields, if they want increases and you want to honor those, then we could do the ordinance.
So I mean, I don't have a problem with it. Yes, I got it.
Sorry.
But
I have a question.
just make sure we get the right. We have Ms. Adams and then Mrs. Larrier.
The pool parties recommendation, there's a range there. What is that for us to discuss and see what?
The difference is actually weekday versus weekend.
Weekend,
Oh,
right.
Okay,
So we'll put that, we'll
clarify, yeah.
clarify it, sorry.
But, what we were told by the full-time staff of the pool that does the bookings is that they have, there's a lot of demand, and that they haven't had a problem booking, and sometimes, they've had more demand has exceeded supply in terms of availability and staff. So, they thought, and they said especially for weekends, that they thought raising it, having a higher fee on weekends, they would still have no problem filling all of the available spots. And this would be a way to generate additional revenue and also account for the fact that several staff members for each birthday party need to be dedicated to the birthday party. So they need to have additional staff on for those days, especially on weekends when there's heavier pool traffic generally and also more birthday parties.
I wouldn't mind seeing that go even a little higher for the weekend ones, if it's such a stress on staff.
Mrs. Larrier and Mr. Brownlee.
Yeah, just a question. The pool membership fees, are they not, they're staying the same then?
Yes,
Okay.
This
and-
year.
this year, right.
And am I to assume that omit means that you're not raising the fees on the guest booklets?
No, actually, the decision was made to no longer sell booklets for a number of reasons. I mean, one, there was administrative sort of expense and time that needed to be spent in terms of the sale of the booklets. Two, the idea of offering a discount. We were finding that even more so than usual, people were gaming the system a bit, sort of circumventing the intention of the guest passes through the use of those booklets. And given that we were eliminating the discount for buying in bulk, it seemed like there was no reason to any longer sell in bulk.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes, Mr. Manning, you said in your introductory remarks, you mentioned the fact that it's operating at a deficit. I don't see, obviously, this is just in terms of the suggested change, so perhaps some of the analysis behind it. You said that I think you said 141,000, if you would, and this would go some way towards addressing that. If I don't know if an analysis is done, if you were to take these figures and apply it against last year's volumes, what was the delta in revenue that we would expect for these numbers versus the numbers that they were last year?
I didn't do that.
I don't know if it was done. I'm asking you, but I'm asking sort of more in general.
Yeah, I don't think that was.
You know if that was done? Like if you were to take these,
No.
if these fees and apply it against last year's volume in terms of how many were actually sold, Mr. Manning's remarks, it would go a ways towards, well, how much would this have garnered if we had these numbers last year versus what we actually got?
The answer is I do not know, but it would not go a very long way towards 141. I think we're talking about.
I'm not going to put you on the spot for a number. You can volunteer when you want, but I just want to know it would go a ways, but a little ways or a lot of ways? A teeny bit of ways? Okay, that's enough for me to know.
I would be surprised if this will change things by 10% or more. So I think, if you were to consider 10% or more material, these changes won't be material.
Thank you.
Okay, so the proposal is to adopt the portion of the memo that deals with the pool rate recommendations and the eligibility of the township of Maplewood employees to purchase memberships.
Yes.
Can we get a motion to that? Lambert?
Yeah, I'd like to move that the fees and rates as noted be adopted.
And the eligibility, right?
Yes, oh yes, and the eligibility for town employees.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion further? Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes. So we're doing this by resolution, and then
Right now, it's a.
we can do it by ordinance later on, but
Yes.
right now it'll be implemented for the 2016. And then you'll come back to us when the Recreation Committee has been able to give their opinion.
Yes.
We've put so many other new people on, so, okay. Great, thank you. Okay, can we get a motion on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Larrier?
Yes.
Mr. Lembrick?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, thank you. We're now at our second public comment period. Is there anyone who would like to address the Township Committee? Anyone? No one? Okay, thank you. Administrative reports, Mr. Manning.
Yes, we have an issue with the baby pool over at, and we had money to fix it. And we went out for some bids, and the bids came in so close to and over the bid threshold, we have to go out to bid it. So I'm asking for your permission to go out and bid the repair work at the baby pool at the Maplewood Community Pool.
Repair work at the.
At the baby pool at the Maplewood Community Pool.
We get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Brownlee?
Yes.
Mrs. Blarier?
Yes.
Mr. Lambert?
Yes.
Mayor DeLuca?
Yes, so
And,
we've authorized the bids for the baby pool repairs.
Yes.
Yes. What else?
And the other one is that we successfully, well, other people may do it, but I'm first, successfully closed on 106 Burnett Avenue. I met today with Public Works regarding the fire alarm systems, burglar alarm systems, the heating and air conditioning. And then we're going to have to, as a body, decide, how we want to plan for it. I'll be meeting with Melissa Mancuso, Ms. Mancuso, and several others in staff internally to come up with some suggestions and ideas to kick off the discussion.
Okay, thank you.
And
I've
that's
also was contacted by the WIDE director.
Really?
I met with him 10 days ago or so, and they may be interested in partnering with us in that building.
Great.
So that may be something where, or depending on how we use that building, they may be willing to do something in the DeHart Center, the space that we're vacating.
Right.
If we wanted to move seniors over to that building, then maybe they would be interested in running a program for young people. They also, too, are expanding their services for seniors, the Y.
Mm-hmm.
So this may be something where they're looking at both facilities and thinking about a more comprehensive partnership dealing with both seniors and young people.
So do you think that we should include them in the early on meetings?
I think we should include them early on. I think it's probably more appropriate to have your internal meeting first, and then maybe reach out to them soon.
All righty. And that's my report, unless you have questions.
I just want to also say that, compliment you and the staff, the police director and the DPW director. When we heard of the transit strike possibility a few weeks ago, we met back at the end of February and made this plan. And Mr. Carrera, thank you for setting up the Facebook page. So we were prepared, and I think it is, if anything, it was a good tabletop exercise for us
Yes.
on how to get prepared for things. And luckily it didn't turn out, but everybody was on board. And, luckily we didn't have to be out here 5 o'clock in the morning yesterday, getting hundreds of people on jitneys to Newark. It would have been a challenge, but so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Mr. Desiderio?
I have one item, Mayor. The engineering department has referred to me a request by Air Royal that apparently was discussed at the the Engineering Planning Public Works Committee with regard to them Air Royal is located on Newark Avenue, and apparently they would like to tap into Township drainage line that runs through the park. I can only read to you what I have. Air Royal is requesting, well, this says temporary access. That's incorrect. To do drainage improvements in the rear of their property and connect a roof drain pipe into the town storm sewer drain just beyond the rear of the property. This was discussed at the EPW&P meeting. The committee is in favor of granting the construction access and construction into the storm easement. So I said to the engineering department, actually to the interim engineer at the time, that I would bring it to you. I think it has to be a permanent easement because they're cutting into the line, and I think it has to be. So if you are interested in doing that, that's fine. I have some diagrams. They are rough. I don't believe that they're appropriate for purposes of an easement. So if you are agreeable, then I would go back to them and tell them to have the appropriate documentation prepared.
And Ms. Adams, the committee.
I'm sorry, and I believe I believe DPW director has no objection either, right?
No objection, and neither did the interim engineer.
Right. And the committee felt
the
fine,
same
right?
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, the committee, we saw no downside to
It's a
allowing
relatively
it.
short distance, et cetera. So I can tell them, yes, go ahead.
Go ahead to get the plan, right?
Yep, put the plan together. Okay. Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Ms. Fritzen?
No report, Mayor.
Whoa. Well, in lieu of the report, would you like to read the budget?
Yes, I will.
Okay, anything for Ms. Fritzen? Anybody have questions?
I know. 'Cause
Okay.
Last time, I almost put Mr. Desiderio off the chair.
Well, this time you almost sent Mr. Manning off the chair.
Okay.
That was committee.
Okay, we're going to move to elected officials. Mr. Lembrick?
I have no report.
Wait.
BJ, what do you think about this? You think we could do 5 no reports?
No.
I don't think, I would, don't put your money on that, let me tell you. Let's see, let me see if I can figure this out.
I think we got a reasonable shot of.
Mrs. Larrier.
Yes, Mayor, I just have one comment.
See?
Yeah,
See?
I'm so sorry. I would just like to remind Maplewood residents that as of April 1st, you are allowed to put your basketball hoops up
In our
At the
regular.
curb.
at the curb. Thank you.
Not in the roadway,
Not in the roadway.
at the curb.
At the curb. Starting April 1st. Don't do it before April 1st because that will go badly for you.
Mr. Brownlee?
I have no report.
Ooh, we're close. Ms. Adams?
Sorry, I have a report. Sort of my job here, right? Just some updates from the Engineering, Public Works, and Planning meeting. I met with our consulting arborist on March 4th, and the only other snowfall we had. We went to parks and along streets, and I've asked him to prioritize a list for trees for Maplewood Memorial Park, recommendations, types, and locations, because that has to go to our Historic Commission, and then to the State Historic Preservation down in the state, so that they can give approval to any additions we make to the park. And then hoping we can do that in time to get some planting in the fall for Maplewood Memorial Park. We also have Public Works is determining how many, we had issues with a couple of us, I guess, when we were running, on the lack of recycling containers in Maplewood Village. So we asked the DPW director to look into the big bellies that we currently have big bellies for garbage in the village. We're asking him to look into the joint big bellies, which are recycling on one side and garbage on the other, and try to get some of those put. I've asked him to coordinate locations of that with the Village Alliance. And we've looked into pedestrian safety still is one of the top things on our agenda. We are going to be purchasing more of the signs that are out on Prospect Street for pedestrian crossings, to put some where they've been requested in areas on Ridgewood Road for pedestrian safety there as well. And hopefully we can get the ones that we did get replaced at no cost, since technically they say yield to pedestrians instead of stop for pedestrians, which is what the law currently calls for. Also, just for residents out there, we are trying to get more strict with the landscapers on many issues regarding them, but right now, first and foremost, your landscapers, if you hire one, needs to register with the town. They need to register their equipment. They need to register themselves. So if your there's only 4 landscapers who have registered thus far. I believe they have until March 31st to do so. And if they aren't registered by March 31st, then they're in violation and will be cited when they're doing work in town. So I think that's all I have.
Thank you. I have 3 items. First, talk to the Township Committee is this Saturday. We will be in Maplewood Village from 9 a.m. to 11:30. Let me just make sure we're in Maplewood Village. I think we are. Yes, right? This Saturday, 11:30, we're going to be leaving to go do a ribbon cutting, anyone around. And then also this Saturday at 1 p.m. to about 1.2 minutes after is the Easter egg hunt. If you're not there at 1 o'clock and you're there at 1:03, you will miss the Easter egg hunt. It is that fast. So it'll be across the street at 1 o'clock, and it's always a blast if anybody can join us.
The festivities do go till 3.
Oh, yes, yeah, well, the cookies and everything else is a lot longer, but the eggs get taken up pretty quickly. And lastly, this morning, while some of us were inside at an Economic Development Committee meeting, PSE&G Gas Division was closing Maplewood Avenue. Unbeknownst to us, we had a mix-up with the police department. They were informed. We were not informed, and I want to apologize to anyone who was inconvenienced this morning. One of the things we're trying to do is to get ahead of all the work associated with the post office. This was to shut the gas line there. We thought we had a system in place. The person who normally takes PSE&G calls just thought this was a normal PSE&G call, and she did not notify who that person needed to notify so that we could get the word out. So I apologize to the merchants, folks who were trying to drop off people at the train station. It was a bit of a problem. We got it resolved fairly quickly, right around 9:30 or so. After we ended this meeting, we went over there. But we are hoping to make sure we have these checks in place so that this doesn't happen. So I apologize that it happened today. We are expecting the building to start demolition before the end of the month. So we're on it. There's a meeting tomorrow, pre-construction, to do some planning. But again, this just slipped through the cracks, but we've instructed the person at the police station to not do anything without our knowledge in the future related to Maplewood Village. So, okay, with that, let me get a motion to, yes, I'm sorry.
Just one final comment. The first meeting in April, I will actually not be here. I'll be in New Orleans. I know we have our health Board of Health meeting, but
Right.
you have offered to cover that for me.
Yes.
Will we be delaying any smoking discussion, or should I just have them come to the Board of Health meeting?
Well, let me ask you this. If we were to get somebody to come from the business side, do you want to be here for that?
I would prefer.
Okay, then we'll wait till the meeting you're here.
Okay, thank you.
Unless we count the votes and we don't need you, then we can do it. But I think we might need you. So.
I think you might need me.
Okay. Let's get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll see you on April 6th, I believe, right?
Fifth.
5th. April 5th. Thank you.